I've realized you really have to figure out what fills your heart, right? Like leading by heart is something that is unmatched. If you're on, I always say, if you're aligned with your assignment, you're doing it right. And bringing these moments to families has been so fulfilling. And I knew that I wanted to do something different than being in the rush, chaotic medical field. I knew that I wanted to do anything and everything to lead from the heart. And being positive is one of those things that you need for a solid foundation when you're going through something that is so tough. And so I decided I was going to lead from the heart. I was going to help families grow in the most positive way possible. And so that is where things cultivated in the right way. And here we are. And actually being able to lead with heart has been phenomenal.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Reanimated Stories. This is Roger, your host, and today I am joined by Bridget. And Bridget and I have known each other for a while. We kind of met under interesting circumstances at a networking event a long time ago and kind of kept in touch. And now Bridget is doing something uniquely her own, and it is really exciting. And I'm so very blessed to have her here today. And also, I know that you will enjoy hearing about what she does and how she does it and the lives that she's touched through this. So without any further ado, Bridget, thanks so much for coming this morning.
Roger, thank you so much for having me. This has been an honor to be asked to be here.
Yeah, no problem. You know, it's funny because I mentioned this to another guest and I keep doing this. I'm like, hey, thanks so much for coming today. But every guest that I've had, it's always virtual. It's like, you're not going anywhere. You're literally just, you're in your office or wherever, and you're not coming to me or anything like that. So I got to remind myself not to say that. But Bridget, thanks so much for joining us today. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do?
So I'm Bridget, and I'm the founder of Connected by Heart. And what we do is we take ultrasound in home. So we offer ultrasound, all the different settings, so 3D, 4D, HD live, into families' homes. We also do staffing for different OBGYNs here in the greater Austin area. And we also do mobile diagnostics. So we take our equipment into different OBGYN offices and birthing centers and offer ultrasound to their clients as well.
That is really cool. So my wife and I, we have had two boys, and I remember, doing not the EKG, doing the ultrasound. And I remember talking to the nurse, and they had been doing it since like 70s or something like that. She was a really sweet lady, but she was like, yeah, like it's, so interesting to see how it's grown. She had told us, because now they're like doing 4D, and they're doing 3D and you
Yes.
can see all the stuff. And so she was like, back then it was like, this fuzzy thing. And it's like, well, there's definitely something there, and so, but
Yeah,
even in that, when my first son was born to when my second son, even just those few years that technology had jumped. So that's actually really cool. And what makes
absolutely.
you do, yeah. And what makes what you do unique is that you actually go into the home. It's not necessarily they're going to an office, they're going
Yes.
into your home. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more and kind of how you got into that?
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, we take our equipment and we go into our client's home. And that is beautiful because it allows them to have their family around, including their pets, which is a beautiful thing. And we get to do ultrasound bonding in home. And so mom lays on the sofa or wherever she's comfortable, and we can connect to their TV. And by doing so, it allows everyone to see the ultrasound on the big screen. And we do gender reveals that way too. And so it has been amazing at bringing families together and to see them with so much love and joy. It's been an excellent experience.
That's really cool. That is actually a very interesting gender reveal. You always see these, these big things where, they're like, all right, well, they're gonna shoot this thing off and all that, but that's actually a very unique gender reveal. So that's actually really cool. Yeah, I remember my first son, our oldest, was when we went in for his, I keep wanting to say EKG. No, when we went in for his ultrasound, super easy to find. It was great, got great pictures, right? The second one just was not like, he was not having it. Like, it took us forever.
Yeah.
We're like, well, we know he's got a face, it's somewhere, but it was always like, he was always looking away, shy or something like that. He had his hand over his face, like, "Come on, dude,
Yeah.
just one picture," you know? So that's really cool. You're doing it in an environment where it's not some stuffy, office, right?
Yes.
You're actually able to come out to where they are. I assume everything's mobile, so this is just kind of a random question, but like, is
Yeah.
like what's the setup like to get to that? Is it you can only do so many in a day because obviously you're moving around instead of like, okay, well, we're open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You're coming to our office and you're able to come in. So what's that
Yes.
kind of setup like? What does that look like for you to go into somebody's house like that and the experience?
Yeah, so obviously, time is limited because we're on the road. But what we do to make sure that our values are aligned with serving each family at the best capacity that we can is we do schedule out. A lot of families will come to us and say, "Hey, I want to scan at this time on this day because I'll be this many weeks." And during that time frame, it's very important, especially to get the greatest experience, to be at a certain time in weeks to get the great photos of whatever it is that you're searching for. So some moms are looking for announcement photos. Some moms are just wanting to bond in the 3D, 4D and have those images to save as a memory forever. And if that's important to that family, that's what we do. I always say ultrasound anytime is the best time because it's truly about bonding and being there with baby and I think that those things are amazing, but we do schedule out. We make sure to get all the details of what this family is looking for, whether it's husband surprising wife or grandma surprising daughter or mom surprising the family. So we just make sure to schedule appropriately in those cases.
That's really awesome. You had mentioned that you do 3D and 4D. I don't know what exactly is the difference between 3D and 4D?
Yes. So actually, it starts with 2D, which is the traditional
Yeah.
black and white image that everyone kind of knows or has seen before. And so that 3D image is one that gives them more of kind of like a human like perspective, right? A 3D image. And then 4D is just that 3D image that moves. We also offer
Okay.
HD Live, which is also known as 5D. And this is where you can get kind of that color to the skin type.
Oh,
It's just
interesting.
a phenomenal view. It's very realistic. There are other places and vendors that will offer some other kind of AI generated things, which is also really amazing and exciting if a family wants to kind of see more lifelike. Those services are available as well. So yes, they're all the Ds is what people say. They're like,
Yeah.
"What to me? I just want this look." And there's so many,
Yeah.
different terms for all of it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, that makes sense now, the 4D and the moving and all that. Yeah, that's actually really cool. I didn't know about the 5D and
Yes.
the AI generated, but that makes sense though. And that's really cool
Yeah.
because you had mentioned previously, that this is really like in a special time because the mom can do it to be like, hey, here's a surprise. Like everybody will want the family to be around to see it because
Yes.
you can't. I've been in those rooms; they're kind of small, right? You can fit so many people in there, so that's really cool. What is the experience like having doing that in the home versus at an office, and what brought you into doing this in the home and kind of starting this?
So, the experience in home is nothing you've ever experienced before. It is so obviously, right? It is so personal. It's also on my part, it's also extremely honoring because these families are bringing you into their home and that alone is phenomenal. I mean, being in their presence and their day-to-day activity environment and being able to bring that experience to them and see the joy that it gives them is amazing. It is something that is unlike any other. I would say it's right there with like having a new baby, like this new world of things. And what brought me to it actually is, as you know, Roger, you've met my husband. He was sick several years ago. And I remember after his life saving surgery and not knowing if he was going to make it or not, I remember thinking, this is a really hard time. This is a really hard moment. And I just remember thinking that if we can endure these moments that are really, really hard, we have to have the opposite, which is also true. Those moments that are beautiful and exciting can also last a lifetime. So when 1 second in a very tough setting can also, the opposite is true. So you can also feel like a lifetime in a moment as well. And so turning it that way was very fulfilling for me. And being around families who enjoy the presence of what we do and are also honoring their pregnancy is amazing. And it definitely fills your cup.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that. I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful to know that, hey, you know what, there can be some really tough, sad times, but then there's also this
Yes.
joy that can be had in that. And I think that that's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, no, I think that that's great. Typically, when you're going into when you're going in to do like an ultrasound, what's that typical experience like from like the time that you get there to the time that you're leaving? And everything kind of in between? What does that kind of look like for you and also for the family as well?
So we usually arrive to a family's house about 15 minutes before their scheduled time, and we'll start setting up and we get mom comfortable. Obviously, we meet the family and all the good stuff, and then we'll hook up to the TV. We'll get our ultrasound machine all set and ready, and then we'll scan and we'll do whatever it is that the family wants to do, whether that's, where's baby's head? A lot of people want to know what they've been touching at the top of the tummy. Is that baby's butt? Is that baby's head? Like, what have I been touching here? And so just giving them the lay of the land, showing them where baby is super exciting for everyone. Because sometimes babies have a foot poking out or they're balled up on one side. And just to be able to experience that with mamas and the families are amazing. Because a lot of people will say, "Oh my god, I've been touching baby's butt this whole time." So that's super exciting. We'll do a scan, usually about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. The families ask for an hour, what have you. So we'll do our scanning experience and bond with baby. And then we do a quick breakdown and we head out. And most days we have multiple families on one day. And so we'll repeat that process and again, following our values and just making sure that we're giving the family the time that they deserve. And so we squeeze in a little bit of extra time sometimes as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I remember, with our firstborn, you'd see this like her stomach would go on, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" Well, anyway, I'm not going to like make sure it's human, right? Just kind of, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that because you're like, something's in there, right? And you're like, "Oh my gosh, wow, yeah, I know that is." It's a beautiful thing to be able to see that. But yeah, when they like press their hand against it, you're like, "Okay, that's cool,"
Yes.
So that's really awesome. That's
Yes.
really awesome. So, not to bring it down, right? But I'm sure that at some time that there has to be like, hey, you know, we've noticed something, with our second child,
Mhm.
they did notice something. So we had to take him to a heart specialist. He turned out to be fine
Mhm.
and everything. But
Right.
they're like, hey, this does look a little. So 2 questions. 1, is it just you that's doing the ultrasound or is it somebody else? And I assume that you guys like what sort of training that you
Mhm.
have to notice being like, "Hey, you know what? This thing I have noticed it. You may need to get this, checked out, making sure that everything is fine."
Mhm.
So kind of walk me through that process. Is it just you that's doing it? What sort of training and are you guys able to recognize that?
Yes, absolutely. And so I have been doing ultrasound now 15 years, and I am registered in OBGYN. So I am specialized, and I do perform all of the ultrasounds currently with Connected by Heart. And we have a waiver that moms sign when they're doing an elective ultrasound that says, that we don't diagnose. And, you have to be okay with that first. And then secondly, I have them fill out their information sheet, which is also making sure that if we saw something during this scan, we do not talk about it. And we may reach out to your doctor's office and let them know that it was something that the sonographer saw and they can look into it if they'd like. That is just by out of respect for our clients, right? And a lot of moms appreciate that because they're like, yeah, that would be wonderful because sometimes things do change unexpectedly, right? And so having my background and the expertise that I carry, it is very important and it is a huge value here at Connected by Heart as well that we are there and we are that advocate for our patients as well. So on the elective side, as a client, you know, they are there for fun, right? So we are there to have a great time. And if unfortunately, if there is something that we do see, we do reach out and we do let the doctors know, like, hey, this is they came in for an elective ultrasound and this is kind of what we saw, but it's just sonographer viewpoint, right? So there's no
Yeah.
reporting officially or anything like that. On the diagnostic side, we do partner with a radiologist who reads all of our studies. And in that case, the provider that sent that order for that ultrasound is the one that will get the report from the radiologist, and therefore they can continue care there. So that is how we handle that. Now, with Connected by Heart, we also offer a service where if a family is given a life limiting diagnosis with baby, or if mom has something that's going on where we may not get through the pregnancy in time or whatever, there's so many different things that happen. We go in and we provide a bonding ultrasound with these families that are going through something so tough. And it is truly meant to give them those moments that we were talking about earlier, those moments that can last a lifetime. And that is pure elective and that is pure time for them to be able to bond with baby without the chaos of the medical field in the room, right? So those experiences have been bittersweet to be a part of as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, man, that is really cool that you provide that. Like you said, bittersweet because that's such a precious thing, but to kind of know the end result. But that is amazing that you're able to be able to do that for them. And like you said, without being in a kind of cold, sterile environment, kind of in the comfort of their home and really have that time. So that's absolutely
Yes.
great. All right, now I'm gonna ask you a personal question. What's the biggest TV that you've ever had to do a ultrasound on?
But
Is some have you done it
I
in like a big like 8K, 85-inch TV? Have you ever had that before
Right.
or
Yes, yes, we have,
oh
and
wow, that's
it's a
cool.
beautiful experience, but there are those
Yeah.
that are more intimate, and then you've got
Yeah.
some very extravagant ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Some of
I
them like,
bet. Yeah.
"Wow."
Yeah, wow, this is really detailed TV. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I just yeah, that was totally a personal question. It has nothing to do with anything. I've always used to sell
Yes.
TVs at Best Buy. I'm a big TV, audio and all that. So anyway, I just
Yes.
was like, I wonder what the biggest TV that she's ever done that on. So because I've seen some of those. So that's
Yes.
really cool. So speaking of that, so what kind of got you, or not speaking of the TV, but speaking of kind of the moments that you're able to have with these, what is it that kind of got you into this that made you kind of because you said that you had done 15 years prior to this and you have this experience to do that. So what made you kind of transition into doing this? Because I know that you were doing something beforehand and then you had,
Mhm.
transitioned to something else and now you're doing this. So what was kind of that pathway that it kind of made it, that, hey, this is something I want to do to provide this experience for these families?
Yeah, so yeah, you really have to I've realized you really have to figure out what fills your heart, right? Like leading by heart is something that is unmatched. If you're on, I always say, if you're aligned with your assignment, you're doing it right. And bringing these moments to families that probably had no idea this option was even something, right? Has been so fulfilling. And I knew that I wanted to do something different than being in the rush, chaotic medical field. I knew that after my husband had made it through surgery and we were in this new lifestyle, I knew that I wanted to do anything and everything to lead from the heart. Nothing could stop us
Mm,
now that we were in this new life together and we are making the best of it no matter what. And being positive is one of those things that you need for a solid foundation when you're going through something that is so tough. We have no control over things most of the time, right? And so just doing it right from the get-go is really important. And staying together as a family during tough times is also something that's very, very important. And so I just kind of combined my world and I decided I was going to lead from the heart. I was going to help families grow in the most positive way possible. And I was also going to be there for my husband and my family. And so that is where things cultivated in the right way. And here we are. And balancing both is not as tough as you know, being in the field and having to rush, rush, rush all the time and actually being able to lead with heart has been phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. I do remember, when we had our boys for their ultrasound, and
Yes.
it was this idea of like, okay, well, we got to hurry, but also, the sonographer is the name of the is what they do, right? The sonographer.
Yes.
Yeah, they had both
Yeah.
of them were just really sweet ladies that they were like, well, I wish I had a little bit more time, with this, but it's like I gotta, this next one, this next one, this next one, and all that. And so the fact that you're able to have that, is so great, and to really, have the ability to say, hey, like let's slow down, let's enjoy this time, because once they're here, everything changes and it's not as sweet
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, why are you doing that? So that's really awesome. And on both ends of the spectrum of, hey, let's celebrate this that's coming, but also let's still celebrate this, even though it may not have the ending that we think it's going to, have, unfortunately, but you're able to still provide that unique experience that I think is not matched in anything that, you're going to be at a hospital and have. So that's absolutely wonderful. And I love that story, with everything that you've gone through, with your husband and just with his surgery, and just like let's experience and let's enjoy this life and let's help others to really kind of lead by that. So that's absolutely fantastic. So Bridget, if someone is thinking, hey, this actually sounds really interesting, I wonder what do I need to think of if I'm going to, have Bridget do this? So where do you serve? Where do you currently serve at? And what do people need to think about before if they're thinking like, hey, I want to maybe do this as an elective, ultrasound and all that?
Yeah, so we have a website that you guys can go to our website and look at our services. You can find us at connectedbyheart.com. Our Instagram page is extremely popular. We are Connected by Heart Ultrasound on Instagram, and we are spreading global love there, which has been phenomenal. So you guys go check that out. And honestly, you can send us a direct message. Our phone number's on our website. You can text us, call us, and schedule. I always tell mamas, whatever perfect thing you see in your mind of like how you want this visit to go, let me know what that is, and we will bring that to life for you. Whether that's we have heartbeat bears, so we can record baby's heartbeat and put it in a bear. A lot of moms like to do that as gifts, especially during Christmas. Um, so we can do multiple things, and we get excited to learn what the family's like. So with us coming into your home, what's going to make this experience the best for you? And we'll be there for you.
That's really awesome. And what areas are you currently serving at right now? And what are some things that people need to think of if they're getting ready to do this?
Yeah, so we do Austin and all of Austin greater areas. So we do as far south as San Marcos and as north as like Round Rock, Pflugerville, Georgetown. We've been out to Taylor. And so we do all of the cities around Austin, which has been great. We've had some very specific requests for going out a little further, and that's totally fine too. So just whatever it is, just bring it and let's figure out how to make this memorable for sure.
I think that that's such a cool service, and really leading, as you said, leading by the heart so that you can be connected by the heart. And I think that that's absolutely great. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Bridget. I really hope that people will reach out and really kind of think about that, because that's such a beautiful thing to experience. So thank you so much for coming out. Again, you're not coming out anywhere, but thank you so much for joining me today and really sharing your story. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us. We're glad to be here.